I think everyone can relate to pushing into some position only to realize too late that you have no support and consequently you're completely deleted from the battle and contemplate whether or not you should just delete the game as well. So if you are tired of getting deleted from game, then this is the perfect video for you because I'm going to teach you how within 30 seconds of a battle starting, you can vastly improve your win rate, your performance, and probably get deleted a whole lot less often. It is the art of reading lineups. With that out of the way, cue the intro. So let's jump right on into the content of today's video. I will have 3 replays for you. Now, I'm not going to show the full replays. That would take way too long. It would be a 45-minute video if that was the case. So I'm just going to show the important parts of the gameplay and how my early positioning really impacted the outcome of a battle. So you want to get better at reading lineups, I would assume. You're here to watch the video. So probably, okay? I want you to completely toss the notion of vehicle classes out the window. Do not think of tanks by heavy tank, light tank, medium tank, TD, that type of stuff. No. I mean, it's good for a brief glance, but don't rely on it. Think much deeper than that. Consider how a tank plays. Does a Chieftain Mark 6 play the same way as an E100? Absolutely not. Are they going to position themselves in the same spot? Probably not. If you're on a map that is split between a dunes area and a town environment, that Chieftain Mark 6 is very likely not going to try side scraping in town, but it's going to blitz to the dunes to try and deal with the meds. So you may as well count that as a pseudo medium right off the bat, and you'll have a decent idea where that Chieftain Mark 6 may head. This is the type of information that will fundamentally change how you read lineups, and I think it's really important. It requires experience. It's not something you can do right away, but once you get some experience seeing how, generally speaking, vehicles are played, you can make those informed decisions and really calculate them quickly. Another really important part to reading lineups. Don't just read the enemy team's lineup. Come on, you got to read your allies as well. And not just read what your allies' lineup is, but also weigh them against each other. You got 3 heavies. The enemy team has 3 heavies. Okay, what class of heavy tanks? Oh, they got 2 E100s and an M103, but your team has, I don't know, a TI-5E6, a 215B, and an AMX-50B. Your team may have better DPM, but in terms of holding, let's say, a town on desert sands, they're going to not last very long. They probably won't win that side. They don't have the armor, the HP. Then you can already conclude, looking at the lineup, which side is going to struggle a lot. And you can maybe you could just assume the TI-5E6 is just going to dip out of town, right? That is what you have to do as well. Read the lineups, weigh the tanks against each other, and use that to make informed decisions. Once you start noticing vehicles with a certain class, vehicles that tend to perform better against enemy vehicles or worse, then you can really quickly start positioning yourself based on 2 decisions. Do you want to reinforce a position where your team has a disadvantage, or do you want to go to another position and absolutely blitzkrieg one side of the map, destroying the enemy team, and hope that your allies can stay alive long enough to perform well? I think this is easier to demonstrate through some replays. So without further ado, let's jump right on into some games. So let's pause just for a moment here while I explain my thought process while loading into this game. So the first thing I noticed is the teams are pretty lopsided. My team is much heavier, the enemy team is much more light with an STB, M60, M40 Patton going into the dunes, which is not going to be good for my Leo and STB1. So if my meds go dune side, they're going to lose 90% of the time, all right? And if they don't have adequate support, that is. Whereas my team is probably not going to lose the heavy side. We have 2 E100s, big, chunky tanks that take forever to kill in a town environment, supported maybe by a Kron and even potentially me if I decided to go that way. But I decided not to, because if we all go town, I doubt those mediums were going to help me. Actually, they were already heading into town, right? So those meds weren't going to help out. We would all get trapped in a town environment, and even if we rush their heavies, it's still going to take a while to kill them, and in the end, we're going to get crossfired out and very likely lose the game. So with the idea that the 2 E100s could very easily hold town on their own, it would take a long time for them to die, I felt confident in pushing the meds, and even if they do die in town, by the time we're done clearing out the med side, we should have positional advantage over the enemy team, and that's pretty much how this replay is going to roll out. So the enemy STB1 is going to be the first tank to fall victim here because he was over aggressive, assuming he would have that medium take advantage, did not expect a 2-5B and a Kranwagen to be leaping over into the dunes. So I'm keeping the pressure on this medium side because we have to kill them quickly, right? Our 2 U100s in town with a 268 are probably gonna die, right? They don't have a whole bunch of support, but they will survive for a while. So we're just continuing to keep the pressure here, clearing out meds left, right, and center. The patent was taken out, and if you keep an eye on the mini-map, you'll see that so far, our tanks in town are still holding on. At least one E100 and the 268 are still around, so we still have time to clear out the dunes. Now it's just a 268. Obviously, we're kind of going through this replay quickly here, but by the time this 268 gets taken down, the M60 is practically dead, and the enemy 183 is dead right about now. Yeah, so the enemy 183 is taken out, and that leaves me on almost full HP and a Kranwagen on almost full HP in strong positions in the dunes versus their heavy tanks, which took a lot of damage, as I kind of predicted. And of course, the M60 gets caught out, so farewell, Mr. M60. And then me and this Kranwagen just work very well on this bridge together to slowly start whittling these heavy tanks down, tracking the 100 on his way up to give me time to escape from his gun. The Kran's on my right, so I decided to hold a little bit to the left here. That way we can maintain a crossfire if the 60 TP pushes forward. Although the E100 kind of preoccupies my attention here, so I have to go back to tracking him and just kind of prioritize the C100 and hope the Kranwagen does fine on the other side. But you can see already how taking that really strong map positioning, clearing out the dunes, and forcing their heavy tanks, which were maimed in town, to push into us, managed to turn a 3 versus 2 situation, 3 versus 2 for the enemy, into a very comfortable victory for my team. And that is how just reading a lineup, figuring out the weakness on your team and how to eliminate that weakness and give yourself the highest chance of winning can end very, very well. We dealt a solid 5,000 damage that game. It was an ace in the 2 and 5B. Not all the games are going to be an ace, but that was a good battle. Jumping into this next game on Mayan Ruins, the first thing that I noticed is that the enemy team once again had a stronger medium lineup. Akara and Abashaltion are very likely going to control the seaside as the map, whereas I only have a WZ light. So that was the number one threat that I noticed. But looking at my allies lineup, we can see that we have an IS-7 Kran, VZ-55. These tanks are very likely going to go into the middle of the map, but to control above B, you need to have control above C. Basically, if you lose C, you get crossfired out and die. So I immediately decided, within a couple of seconds, to push C in my 268. Even if the WZ doesn't really support, I don't have to be super aggressive here because I know just how the meta kind of works on this map. Usually players go to the above B position, and if you manage to maintain control above C, then it's generally a pretty quick and clean victory. So I'm not going to overcommit here, because once again, I don't want to get YOLO'd by a Kara and a bad shot by myself. I'm going to hug this corner and wait for an opportunity to start dealing damage to these players. They are already starting to crossfire our heavies, right? Because technically right now we don't have control over the C side, but I'm waiting for the Kara to make a mistake, and he sure does, taking a hefty chunk out of his HP pool. My allies are being pretty aggressive in the mid, and even the VZ is pushing on over towards this side of the map. And so we're just going to keep holding here and killing the Caro. Basically, once that Caro is down and the Batchat starts getting pressured out, the game is already lost for the enemy team. I know the score is 1-1 right now, but this Bachaltion is about to experience a very unpleasant high explosive shell to the rear, and he gets taken out by our VZ. So we have C control, we have a lot of tanks holding B, we have some pretty firm heavies, and RIP Minotauro, that had to hurt a lot. And basically, that's going to be the game. Very fast, very quick. The reason we won so quickly is our heavies were aggressive above B because they were not really getting crossfired out from C. They're getting crossfired out from C, they're going to bunker down. They're not going to be able to play comfortably there. But because I was able to push in very quickly, put 2 shots into the Caro, clear him out, clear out the Batchat, my team was able to confidently win that game. So it's not always about the most close or biggest brain games, but you always have to keep stuff like this in mind, which is why I wanted to highlight this replay, right? Just because I'm at 268 doesn't mean I have to be like this 183 and sit back and snipe. I can use it more aggressively to make sure we maintain that map control, which is one of the most important things you can do in a game. So 4,000 damage, not too shabby. We farmed up thanks to the HE and a pretty good second battle. So I decided to highlight this last battle because both teams have identical tank class lineups, even to the tier, right? And so theoretically, if our heavies go heavy side and our meds go med side, we will be equally matched, but there is one difference, the object 263. And the question is, where is that tank going to go? Now, when I was playing this game, I was thinking, all right, it's 263, it kind of sucks at fighting the bridge. There's a heightened chance he could YOLO medium side, and that could make a significant difference on trying to win that end of the map. So what I did for the start of this game was push straight on into this middle spotting position to give myself that initial information. If I see the 263, maybe the Waffenträger pushing to the medium side, I know that that flank's going to be extremely difficult to win, and maybe it'll be better to prioritize the left-hand corner. If I spot him, or if I don't spot him at all, then we can assume he is sitting at the heavy tank side. And so this early information, we've already found none of them, but the meds are on the right-hand side. So I decided, okay, you know what? We're going to take the play and go help out on the medium side. So basically, just by reading that lineup initially, there was a bit of an anomaly on the enemy team, and I wanted to get that early information to decide if I can start pressuring the medium flank or not. Now, if we jump ahead, we can see this is the moment I noticed that my heavies at the bridge are going to start struggling, and actually communicate with my teammates here to tell them that we need to push. I mean, we need to really win this flank. And I actually said affirmative, like, should we push? Yeah. And so shout out to this Kara and TVP. Even though they bled out, they were excellent support. And I decided that I was going to be the first one in to help push these mediums out before potentially my team at the bridge loses this battle. And the TVP is going to be the first victim to fall, the first tank to fall victim to our counter push here. As he starts getting clipped by the TVP, I put a shell into him, and he is practically dead within a few seconds. Skipping forward just a little bit more, we have already very much swept this side. We're going to pick up a kill on the TVP, and once that TVP is dead, basically all of the threat on this flank is gone. Me and these meds, especially as they are autoloaders, will have absolutely no problem clearing this side out. So the 263 did not play how I expected him to, and that means this just turned into a normal medium tank brawl. The reason I showcased this, though, is because I was able to have a level of confidence knowing that they did not have those TDs covering the mediums right off the bat, right? We were able to figure that out very quickly because I was uncertain where that tank could go. The game could have been very different if that 263 had gone med side. And basically, that's it for reading lineups. There's a lot of different scenarios. Some of them will have a significant difference, like the 2 and 5B game. Sometimes it will help your team just slap aside when you can take that early map control away from the enemy team by reading a lineup, or you'll get games like this where you will still be going for those early spots or something. That way you can have a level of confidence when working in on a flank. And with that out of the way, that is my long guide to reading lineups, and now it is up to you guys to take this information as you wish and try to improve your own gameplay. So yeah, let's just swap the chem to tired fatness after editing this video for over 8 hours. Oh boy, that took a while. As you can see, the sun has gone down as my room is all dark now, but I'm pretty happy with the video. And basically what I really wanted to teach to you guys, I figured I would end this with maybe just a brief breakdown of what you can think before entering each game. So first thing I recommend doing is just glance at the lineups, see if they're relatively matched or not. That's what I use for the tank classes. See if they're relatively matched. And if they are, then that's cool. You'll have to go to the next step, which is look more individually at tank classes. Try to consider tanks that may have more versatile roles. E100s are pretty generic. You know quite often where they're going to go. They usually don't pop up in random spots unless, of course, they are spawn sniping, which does happen. But, you know, if you see takes like maybe a 263 that could YOLO med side or a chieftain or something, right? That type of information is going to be super valuable. So always try and keep an eye out for those imbalances in a lineup or those tanks that could tilt the benefit or the advantage that a team has on a certain side of the map. And then after that, you need to weigh the odds of how much your team is going to win just based on lineup, right? Based on pure classic lineup. Are they going to be stronger on one flank? Are they going to be weaker on one flank? And should you try and support the weaker flank, or should you try and clear quickly with the stronger flank? Think through that little 3-step process. I made it sound way more advanced than it is. It's really not. With some practice, you can master it. And you will perform a lot better early game and position yourself a whole lot better. Obviously, this doesn't work every single time, but in terms of improving your gameplay, it can help a lot. At least it does for me. And so, yeah, thank you so much, everyone who has watched to this point of the video. It is great to have your support. As always, I don't usually make videos. Actually, I haven't made a video in 2 years because it takes me all day to make them because I have a very high quality standard for my videos. And so, yeah, I do live stream quite often on my channel. If this is your first time dropping by, live stream all the time. And so you can get all this type of information kind of mixed in with some live replays, live gameplay. So if you are interested in learning more about the game, I do recommend dropping by my live streams. And yeah, and oh yeah, we can't forget. We can't forget. Sweet Miss Bobby. There you go. You even got Bobby at the end of the video. It is a total dub. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you take care. I will see you next time.